Strategic planning and performance management. Hello, this is Victor Marromo, your strategic planning and performance management coach. We've reached Unit 8. Why diversification is not a strategy. Develop strategy to achieve targets. Scope strategy is about diversification and is the focus of this unit. Diversification has its detractors, their opinions, being fueled by a history of failure associated with it, especially where diversification has been sought through acquisition. As this unit will show, in the case of Burns Philp, diversification involving large and therefore risky acquisitions can indeed have disastrous consequences. It's important to note that we are concerned here with industry diversification, not a broadening of a product range, which some people refer to as diversification. Keep that in mind. An organization engages in industry diversification if it extends its efforts over more than one industry. For example, Semco is a manufacturer of industrial products and a provider of office maintenance services. Diversification as applied to a product or service range, on the other hand, focuses on a strategic factor for customers. Broadening it would come under scale strategy, which we revised in Unit 7. Our experience tells us that most organizations have difficulty with diversification. They don't know which way to turn. They're either so scared of the topic that they don't give it a second thought, or they are so unaware of the dangers they simply rush in. Since neither extreme is really suitable, what is an appropriate approach to an issue? The answer lies in the description of scope strategy itself. It involves knowing strategic factors in the new industry. So, said this, welcome to Unit 8. We are revising scope strategy, which is a very important topic. Please, I urge you to remember. Take notes. Compare this information with the situation of your organization or business unit, so we can clarify concepts. Please put them in the comment section. I will be very glad to answer your requirements and questions. Welcome. 1. Scope strategy. Unlike scale strategy, which we revise in Unit 7, where competitive advantage is built on strategic factors in an organization's or business unit's present industry, scope strategy is concerned with developing competitive advantage on different strategic factors. In other words, scope strategy involves taking a decision to move the company's activity to a different industry and then developing a competitive advantage therein. When we say a different industry, we are not necessarily thinking of a move from a manufacturing to hotel services. The change of industry can be more subtle than that, as will be seen shortly in the case of a chain of gift stores, Gracious Gifts. In scale strategy, we're looking for depth of competitive advantage on strategic factors. In scope strategy, we're looking for breadth. We broaden the organization's industry focus. So, please keep that in mind. The differentiation of definitions are very important. Scope strategy and diversification. The strategic option listed in figure 7.1 for scope strategy is diversify, intensify across industries. We know that diversification involves broadening the activities of an organization. Intensification, by contrast, means narrowing activities. Intensification is quite common these days. Organizations are returning to core business and casting aside non-core activities. Diversification and intensification are two sides of the same coin. We will concentrate on diversification because its successful implementation has been such a problem. What if an organization or business unit has assets that its industry does not have a great future? For example, a number of new competitors may be able to enter the market, or perhaps growth has slowed. It may be that a new technology has sprung that will make certain products or services obsolete. So, organizations have to be very keen on that factors. Under these conditions, an organization or business unit may choose to diversify. It's important to realize that in our terms, diversification is not a strategy. Strategy involves achieving competitive advantage precisely on the strategic factors themselves. Diversification by itself does not do this, so it cannot be a strategy. History shows the unfortunate consequence of thinking of diversification as a strategy. Many organizations have followed this route with the thought that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, only to find that it is in fact scorched earth. Other industries often look more attractive than ones on from far afar, but prove not so attractive at all once they are entered. So, if diversification is not a strategy, then what is it? We would say that it is a means of finding new strategy. Note the wording of the scope definition in figure 7.1. Outperform the competition on change strategic factors. The emphasis here is on strategic factors. If we are to diversify, we must be well aware of what we are doing. When we choose different strategic factors, we actually create a problem. The problem is How do we obtain competitive advantage on the strategic factors relevant to this new industry? In effect, by diversifying, we're back to square one. We're back to the problem we had with scale strategy. If we're not careful, however, we compound it. We now have not one problem, but instead two. One in our existing industry, where we have to develop scale strategy, and one in the new industry, where we have to develop additional strategy on a new set of strategic factors. It is easy to see why diversification must be thought of not as a strategy, but as a stepping stone to the development of strategy. The next three examples or case studies offer a cautionary tale. In the case of gracious gifts, a disaster. In Burns Philp, and a success story in Semco. So, I invite you to read them. Highlight the important topics you found there and comment in the box below or in the comment section. 2. Scope and diversification. Diversification is a formidable task, made all the more formidable because of its litany of failures. Yet it doesn't have to be this way. It can be approached sensibly. Scope strategy is a sensible way, as it is entirely focused on strategic factors, with diversification merely the stepping stone. So remember, diversification is merely the stepping stone to scope strategy, not the strategy in itself. This reversal in thinking about diversification is significant. It becomes a means of finding strategy. Strategy in our model of strategy is still built on strategic factors, and achieving competitive advantage on this is just as difficult in a new industry as it is in the current one. If diversification is on the agenda, continually asking questions about strategic factors should avoid disaster. Strategy development shouldn't stop at scale and scope. Otherwise, additional strategic opportunities could be missed. How to avoid naive strategy is the subject of our next unit. Please, if you can, read through the great book, How We Went Digital Without Strategy, of Ricardo Sembler, Harvard Business Review. It is a great book with a great insights on strategy. Please read the case studies. Highlight your questions and the things you found important. Said this was Victor Marrón, your strategic planning and performance management coach. Now, let's move on to chapter 9, which is called Avoiding a Naive Strategy. Thank you, and see you very soon. Please keep in mind that on Mondays we are making some virtual Q&A and networking so we can talk and discuss and reflect about strategic planning and performance management, about the core of this course. It is at 7 p.m. Mexico City time. So, if you can, please join us. We are putting the invite link on the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.